I'm excited to welcome on a top 100 recruit, Aidan Mahaney. What's going on today, bro?
Going on? How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Well, in your part 2022, not quite the summer you want to have, but coaches have been able to start calling you now. You're really starting to get into this recruiting process seriously now. Take us through where this is kind of looking and what it feels like to be in the position you're at right now.
It was crazy. It was June 15th, and my phone started ringing at 12 o'clock p.m. So I got calls from St. Mary's and Cal at 12, and then the next day my phone was blowing up all day. So it was hectic at first, but it was definitely a real cool experience. And definitely keeping in touch with coaches is nice now. Instead of having to call them, they can call me whenever they want to. So you kind of really get to see the interest that teams have in you, which has been good for me.
And we know for you, I mean, you already walked in with quite a few offers on the table. You had big schools like Arizona, Stanford. You obviously added in Cal and LMU recently now. I mean, you have all these schools. Who's really showing you the most interest at this point?
Right now, a couple schools with heavy interest. St. Mary's has shown heavy interest. They're kind of the hometown school out in Moraga, which is 5 minutes away from my high school. And then you got Cal and Stanford who have been texting and calling a lot. I got four of Cal's coaches on my phone ready to, and they call and text frequently. And then Stanford, I mean, I just had a talk with Coach Haas earlier today, and Coach Cohen has also been sending me a lot of stuff. And then I would say those three are probably the schools that show the most. And then outside of that, I mean, you have schools. Virginia's been sending in a lot of mail recently. George Washington keeps in contact a lot. And then you have schools like UCLA, USC who have been texting a lot and stuff like that. Oregon. So it's really there's so many schools. I know I missed a few, but a lot of schools have been keeping in contact, which is good.
And let's talk about some of the schools. I mean, Stanford, for one, you said it's kind of obviously a hometown team in Stone, California.
Yep.
There's a program that has a guy I know you're pretty close with in Esau, the Lanham, the Lance Zaire. Back-to-back classes now, they're going to have top 50 recruits. You could possibly be the next one of those guys. I mean, what's it like just seeing kind of a lot of top players start wanting to go to Stanford and also hometown guys from California staying there?
Yeah, I mean, I have a special relationship with Stanford. Coach Pruitt has been recruiting me since eighth grade, and my mom also went to Stanford, so I've been up on campus before. So, I mean, it's a great place. I mean, everyone knows when they think Stanford, they think academics, and now Coach Haas and his staff are starting to build a real basketball culture over there. Obviously, landing Zaire and Issa is a huge part of that. So, I mean, it's great to see that they're really trending towards really getting big time recruits, and it's definitely something I'll look into.
Absolutely. You also mentioned Cal, another Pac-12 school. What do you like about them?
Uh, you know, um, I think all the coaches have been really transparent with me, which I like a lot. They've been on my recruiting trail for a little bit now. And I think the big thing for me is that they're really communicative. I mean, there's four coaches that are calling and texting me daily, which is a huge thing for me. And then Coach Fox is a great guy. I mean, you can hear when he talks, he's being genuine, and he really wants you to know that he's trying to build something over there, which is big for me.
That's awesome. And you also mentioned St. Mary's, and that's a program that is interesting. I mean, I think that whole conference out there is not necessarily a high major. It's not regarded as one of the Power Five schools, but you have Gonzaga, you have St. Mary's. I mean, you have these Pepperdine, all these big schools that are constantly in the tournament year in, year out. When you see that, what attraction is that to you? Does it matter if it's a Power Five or if it's a high major or not?
A big thing for me is I want to go into a program and if it's built up, that's great. But I also don't mind going into a program and really trying to build it up myself. I mean, I had options to go to bigger schools like De La Salle or Bishop O'Dowd when I went into high school, and I chose Camp Lindo, which was the local school. And I mean, now you see, I mean, we're back to back state champions going for a third this year. So I don't mind going into a school and building it up. But I mean, St. Mary's, Coach Randy Bennett, I've been really close to him since I was a baby. I mean, his kids have been playing with me since I was just a kid. So, and then their assistant coach, Justin Joyner, has been my trainer and my coach and really like a big brother to me for years now. So, I mean, I definitely have deep roots um, in that school, and that's definitely something that will weigh in my decision.
You mentioned a big point there. I think this movement for guys wanting to go these mid-major routes is a lot more popular. I think John Morant really made this a lot more popular now, but we see guys like CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, Paul George. I mean, the list goes on. These guys that weren't highly regarded players and went mid-major, even low major, make themselves a big-time name, make a big-time story behind them. How appealing would that be to you to possibly, like you said, create your own program, kind of create a name behind a school?
Well, I mean, it's something I'm familiar with. I think Campo is regarded as one of the top high schools in California now. I mean, not many schools can go back to back. So I really think that is something that is appealing to me, building something up. But then you also have great schools with great historic runs that they've had. So there's also stuff to look into with that. But I'm open to whatever, but definitely building it up would be something that would be interesting.
Now, there is a big connection. We'll talk about West Coast Elite in a minute, but they have a thing where obviously a lot of guys go to Arizona. We see obviously most recently KJ. When you see that, I mean, just having the kind of deep ties. I know you're close to Nico and Josh. They were recently there. You just see all these guys possibly going out there that you are friends with. Does that make it any more appealing?
I think definitely the recruiting classes for me is huge. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to be playing with Nico or Josh because they're going, but definitely getting to hear. I mean, I talked to Nico a decent amount and hearing what he thought about the school and the fans and the atmosphere definitely is something that I look into. And I mean, they do land West Coast Elite guys a lot. I've known KJ for a while. I've been playing against him for a while. So, I mean, that's a big pickup for Sean Miller. Um, but in terms of going there because of Nico and Josh, I mean, my big thing is I want to go. I want to see my recruiting class. I want to see who I'm going to play with. So that is going to definitely be a big thing for me is getting the guys that I want to play with to come with me to college wherever I choose. So definitely wherever I commit, I'm going to definitely try to recruit and bring some guys with me.
Who are some of those guys? Who's some guys that you really would like to play with at the next level?
Sadraque Nganga, I've played with him for a really long time. I mean, that's like my brother to me. Jaxon Kohler from Utah, another guy who I've been wanting to play with for years now, and someone who me and him have just created a bond over AAU. And then you have other guys from around here like Austin Johnson, who's pretty much one of my best friends. You know, he comes out and stays with me every other week, and you know we've been grinding since we were kids. So I mean, it's guys like that who you know are great character guys who can also play basketball. Those are the type of guys that I would want to be on a team with and build a relationship with.
Now you mentioned a class. I mean, if you guys all were able to team up together, that's a big time class. It's the headlining top 5 class in the country. If you put a team of you, Austin, Jackson, Sada together, how special would you guys be? What could you guys possibly achieve in 1 or 2 years together?
I think the sky's the limit. I mean, obviously, those are just a couple guys. I could name many, many more, but I mean, just within those guys, I mean, I know what I'm getting out of each of them, and I think that if given the right situation and the right development, I think we could definitely go to a place. And I mean, my goal isn't to just go to a high major or a mid major or wherever it may be and make the tournament. I've been a winner all my life, which is something I pride myself on. I've won in the middle school level, I've won at the high school level, and I don't want my college experience to be any different. I want to go in there, and I'm not going in there for anything less than a Final Four and a national championship.
And you mentioned a big thing about you. You are a winner. That's what you're doing. When you just look at your overall body, I mean, you're not the most athletic guy, not the tallest, quickest, but at the end of the day, you are a top 100, top 50 recruit. You're one of the top scorers, the top player in California, only as a 2022 guy, only as a sophomore. How have you been able to do that, not having all the physical attributes that some guys do, especially in a state like California?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been working on my body a lot. That's something that I continuing. I'm gonna need to work on more and more. But I think it's a lot about, I've heard a lot of people tell me, and this is something I go by, is play chess, not checkers. I think my IQ is something that separates me from a lot of people. I think I'm able to see things that people can. I'm able to communicate, be a leader. And I think all those stuff, that you might not see them on the physical exam and you might not see them in the stat sheet, but you see them in the win column. And I think that's something that you can definitely tell about me when I go through my high school and AAU experiences.
And that's the thing. I mean, we talked about Issa a little bit earlier. He's a lot like that. He's not the most athletic, tallest guy either. I mean, you guys obviously have to find ways to maneuver around them. We see guys like Kyle Lowry, probably one of the best examples right now. Chris Paul, a lot of those guys. What are you kind of keying on in terms of your skill? I mean, making kind of your angles. What's some of the stuff you really worked on to make sure you can still play at a high level, not have those attributes?
Well, big thing, a guy I've been watching a lot is Luka Doncic from the Mavs. I mean, you can see now the game's progressing towards ball screen, and I think that heavily, heavily favors me because I think I'm really good in the pick and roll. So that's also something I'll be looking for in a school somewhere where there's a lot of pick and roll because I think that's a really strong point in my game. But I think that, I mean, I think Issa sees the floor really, really well, as do I think I do. So I think just like there's smaller things that people don't see, the intangibles, diving on loose ball, seeing the floor well, making the extra pass that I have that a lot of guys don't have.
And you also have that dog mentality in you. You obviously, as we talked about, you are a winner. You just have that flip that kind of switches when you step on the court. When did you start really learning that? You know how to just kind of flip the switch when you step on a court.
Ever since I was a kid, I mean, I've just been working, and I think it all has to do with confidence. And I think one big thing is people get confidence and cockiness confused a lot. And for me, it's just I put in too much time and too many hours to not think that I can do whatever I want to do on the court. I think I just look across the court and I see someone and I'm like, I've put in more time and I've worked harder than you. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to go out here and get a win for my team at the least. So I think that confidence and the way that I've been working since I was a kid, from third grade going twice a week and then to now going 3 days. And it's been building up and building up. And I think I'm at the point now where I work too hard to not be able to do what I want to do and to not think that I can do whatever I want to do.
Talk to us a little bit more about the confidence and cockiness aspect. That's a problem that I think a lot of athletes, especially basketball players, need to talk more about because in a day where there's so much social media, millions of followers guys are getting, hundreds of thousands, all this stuff's going on right now with basketball players. How do you maintain that? How do you keep the confidence, but you don't let your mind kind of get where you think you're too good and you're too cocky?
Well, I mean, I think there's three factors for it for me. The one is my trainers, the people I'm around. I mean, I have my guy Mike Neal, who is partners with Maurice Jones-Drew, who I live with and who I do conditionings with. I mean, he keeps me level-headed. And then I have Keith Lai and Tion Connor, who are two of my basketball guys who really just, it's all about the work and it's not about the fame or the fans or the followers or any of the media stuff. You just got to sit down and grind. And then I think the second factor would be my family. My mom and dad, they just think, hard work. I mean, I'm blessed right now that I have a house to stay in and I have a bed to stay in and I feel comfortable and I feel safe. And, I think that's something that's huge. And the way that they got it wasn't they were given it, they worked hard for it. And that's kind of something that I try to put into my own game. And then the last one is my friends. I think, I have a really good friend group out here and, they keep me level headed. They'll make sure they'll keep me in check, make sure I'm not getting any big time on them or anything like that. So, I'm really grateful for all three of those aspects. And those are three things that definitely help me stay on the left side of the cockiness and confidence border.
Now, you obviously, as I said, I mean, you have obviously learned to keep your mindset like that, but you have become kind of big time in one aspect. I mean, you flip on a TV channel, you might be able to see the Under Armour commercial. You are in that now. What was that like? How did you kind of get that opportunity?
I mean, that's all thanks to Ryan Silver. I mean, Ryan Silver has been a huge part of me and my family's life. I mean, he got my brother a scholarship offer, and now my brother's going to play at Northern Arizona University, and now he's helping me out with my recruiting process. So, Ryan's been a huge help for us, and he shot me a text, and he said, Under Armour wants to do a commercial shoot with you in it, and I said, of course I want to do it. Like that's an experience that you don't just see every day. So they flew me up there. I did a couple scenes and stuff, was up there for like 2 hours working out. And then, they came out with it and all my friends and stuff would be like, I saw you on TV. And, it's definitely a really cool aspect. And it's just a really good experience that you get. But at the end of the day, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with my basketball ability on the court, but it was definitely something that was really cool.
How did you tell your family about that? I mean, that's something that not a lot of guys do at your age. You got the text from Coach Silver. How did you tell your family?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I told him, I was like, you guys might be seeing me on TV in a little bit. And they kind of laughed it off. And I showed them the text and they're like, wow, like that's amazing. So me and my dad flew down there and, it was a really cool experience.
That's awesome, man. And let's talk about West Coast Elite a little bit more. That's who you're obviously with. We've talked about Coach Silver before, and he's an incredible coach, incredible director. What's it like being around him?
Coach is a great guy. I mean, you can just tell from the way he walks and the way he talks. I mean, he really embodies attitude of gratitude. And, I'm really thankful to have him in my life. I think I met him at one of his camps when I was in sixth grade or something. And I was still playing with my AU team at the time. And then it transitioned into high school. And, he made a pitch really appealing to me and my family about, it's about academics and basketball. But then he also said, he has every college coach's phone number in his phone and he can get me to the level that I want to be at. And I think the big thing that separates Ryan from a lot of people people is he cares about the person. I don't think it's not just about who he sends to college or what big school he sends him to. It's what's the best fit. And at the end of the day, I mean, Ryan's going to be someone that I can look back on, and if I need help, I can always call him. If I need advice, he's always there. So, he's huge for me.
When you're talking about the recruiting process, what are the biggest things? Like, tell us like your 3 or 4 biggest things that you're looking for in a college that a college must have for you to even really seriously consider them.
Um, I have a couple things. So one is culture. I think you don't want to go into a college with bad culture. So, I want teammates that are up on their feet after plays. I want coaches that are really bought in and sold in and aren't looking to go for as a stepping stone to another coaching job, that they're there and they're there to stay. I think another thing is just the relationship with the coaches. I think that's something that's always been big to me. I mean, if I'm gonna go, I want it to feel like home, and I want these coaches who are going to be with me for however many years. I want them to really have my back through it all. And then I think just the other thing is academics. My family's huge on academics. My mom's a big academic person. So going somewhere where, eventually the ball will stop bouncing, whether, obviously my dream is to go to the NBA, but if that doesn't happen or after that happens, I need something for after, and that's where academics come in, and the university that you choose is definitely a big part of that.
What would you say are some things, if you kind of thought about that, you might be interested in possibly pursuing after basketball, even during your basketball career, academic wise, and just other career paths?
For me, I've kind of thought of it as, a lot of dudes, people that make it, they don't really have fallback plans.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's tough for me because, I'm coming from a different background. I mean, my family, my dad has worked hard his whole life, and, we're pretty well off. And I think that's tough for me to really just zero in on basketball, but that's something that I've really dedicated myself to. So, my one thing right now is NBA, and, obviously, when it's all said and done, I'll look back and, I'll figure out what I'm going to do after. But right now I'm really just set on one goal.
That's awesome, man. We talk about building a program. That's what you've done obviously at Camp Linda, and there are some obviously stuff in the air right now. We don't know with California basketball, really the whole country because of COVID effects. And we've seen now a lot of movement starting to happen, guys leaving California because there just isn't a season to be played. If they end up canceling it or something, is the possibility of transferring out of state or going to a prep school something that you would consider?
I mean, obviously I'm going to look into what's best for me. My preference would be to stay at Campbell, at least for this year. But I'm gonna have to look into do what's best for me at the end of the day. But my hope is that high school basketball starts up in March in California, and we start getting and going. And my hope is that I'll be playing in Campo uniform this year.
That's awesome, man. So coming off a year, you almost average 20 a game, 4 rebounds, few assists a game. You obviously lose your brother, which was a pretty big factor, but you're not heading into upperclassmen years. What do you kind of expect? What kind of numbers do you think you can put up next season?
Uh, you know, I think it'll be up to me. I mean, my thing right now is I went NorCal Player of the Year as a sophomore, which hadn't been done since Aaron Gordon went into high school. So I mean, right now it's pedal to the metal, and me personally, I feel like I can do whatever I want in these games. I just feel like I'm that type of player, and I have that type of confidence. But I mean, my thing is just the wins. At the end of the day, I mean, I came into high school thinking or hoping I was going to get 4 state championship rings, and I'm halfway there. So, obviously I'm going to try to put up points. I'm going to try to put up rebounds and assists and all that. But the only really stat that matters for me is that win column over there. So, yeah.
That's what we're going to say. I mean, you have NorCal Player of the Year. You have state championships. You've got scoring. I mean, you got all this stuff already going for you. What else do you really want to achieve? Is there any other big goals you have before you graduate?
Uh, you know, it's tough because obviously the main thing for me is my own team goals. My goal is to be a 4-time state champion. My goal is to be Campolindo's all-time leading scorer, all-time leading assister, all-time leading rebounder, all of those. And then in terms of bigger goals, I mean, obviously, who doesn't want to be in a McDonald's All-American game? That's something that I've dreamed of ever since I was a kid. Jordan Brand Classic. I know I'm missing one of those games, but just all those showcase games. And then, I want to be Gatorade Player of the Year in California, which I know is nothing easy. I mean, California produces the best talent, in my opinion, in the country. So that's something that I'm going to look for and something that I want to do. I was able to win Freshman of the Year as a freshman, so I'm going to keep working and try to get Junior of the Year, Senior of the Year, and then Gatorade State Player of the Year.
You mentioned obviously your brother's going out to NAU next year. How are you going to adjust to that? I mean, what was it like your first 2 years playing with him, and now how do you plan to kind of adjust to the not having him on your team anymore?
It's crazy. I mean, me and him still talk a lot. I'll call him every other day or something like that just to check in and see how it is up there. But it's going to be crazy. I mean, I've had him in my house at least, or somewhere near me for the past 16 years, 17 years now. So there's that. And then on the court, I mean, if you watch those games, I mean, I think people don't understand. He played with a broken wrist this year, and people didn't really notice that, but he wasn't able to score as much. So a lot of the ways I got my buckets were from him. So I'm definitely been working on a lot more stuff to help me get my own buckets, because it's not going to come from him anymore. But it's definitely going to be different. But I'm really glad that we sent him out with wins. So yeah.
No doubt, man. A couple more things before I let you go. You mentioned California. Obviously, it's one, if not the best states in all of America. What's it like playing basketball out there?
I love it. I mean, I actually was born in New York, but I moved out here when I was 6, and I mean, that was right around the time where 6'5", where I fell in love with the game of basketball. And I mean, I think we have the best competition out here. I think we have the best play style out here. I mean, it's different out here. It's a lot more skill. And I mean, I've been a believer since I was a kid that skill wins. So I think that it really helps you really figure out what type of guy you want to be out in California. And I think people underestimate the type of hoopers that we have out here. I mean, we have guys that really just want to win. We have dogs out here, and a lot of people don't see that. But I mean, you see Prolific Prep as one of the top teams in the country. You see Rancho Christian as one of the top teams in the country. Sierra Canyon, and that's just on their side. Then we have, I mean, I think our school is really good. Sheldon, Bishop, O'Dowd. So I think people don't realize how good California basketball is, SoCal and NorCal.
You mentioned obviously being from New York. I didn't know that beforehand. Is possibly going back East Coast something you would consider for college?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I've heard from a couple East Coast schools. I actually recently had just heard from Auburn and Texas A&M, which are closer over there, and then Virginia and George Washington. Those are definitely schools that I'm going to look at. And I mean, my thing is, though, it doesn't matter how far I go. I'm going to go to the right fit. So if it's in the East Coast, if it's in the cold, the snow, if it's in the heat, it doesn't matter to me. As long as I can go to a place that I feel like is a good fit and can get me to the next level, that's where I'll be.
Absolutely, man. One thing I was like wrapping up talking about is building a legacy for yourself. That is something I think all guys want to do. So when you are done playing basketball, man, what do you want your legacy to be for what you do both on and off the court?
Um, I want to be a winner. I think that's what I want people to remember me as when they say Aidan Mahaney. I want them to say he's a winner. I think I'm building towards that, but I think I have a lot more to do. And then just because I want to definitely talk about this in terms of the off the court, obviously there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and a lot of awful things. And obviously, I mean, due to my color of the skin, I don't get to see it face to face. But my mom is half black, and my mom's side of the family is full black and stuff like that. So I hear it from them, and I mean, that's my family, that's my cousin, that's my uncle, and they have to deal with it. And I think it's something that's super serious and can't be taken lightly. And my thing is just like, we need change now, and you see it. I mean, people are complaining about why the NBA games are postponed, and it's so much bigger than basketball at this point. It's so much bigger than these talks or all of us or awards. So I think that's something that really needs to be brought into the light right now. And I think it's slowly starting to, but I also worry it looks like it's a trend that people look at, and it has to be so much more than that. I mean, lives are being taken daily, and you only see a small glimpse of what actually is happening. You see a couple stories, and there's so much more to it. There's so many more stories, so many more deaths, and it's something that we really have to focus on. Something that we need to make a change now about, and there is no wait for it, or there is no build up. It's now, and we need to make it happen. So that's something off the court that I take super seriously, and that we need to work on.
Couldn't agree more, man. You have a platform. You are a basketball player, and you guys obviously have a lot of different opportunities. You guys have a lot of leverage being athletes. How do you kind of plan to do that, not only at the high school level this upcoming year, but college, pros, and for the rest of your life?
I mean, I will always speak my mind. I'm always gonna say what I believe to be true. So whether it's this or whether it's political, I mean, I'm gonna speak whatever I think is important at the time. So obviously, I'm not gonna give my political opinion on the upcoming election, but it's stuff like that that I do not mind speaking about. And if people don't like me because of what I view for politics or what I view for, social changes, I'll live with that. But I just don't want people who like me as a basketball player and like what I can do on the court, and like what I can do for their team or their organization, and then they don't like the other side of me, the side that really cares about some of these social issues that we really need to focus on. So, I mean, wherever I am in high school, I mean, I know for me personally, I mean, I'm gonna be kneeling this year for the national anthem, and I think that's something that I take super seriously. And then on top of that, I mean, when it goes into college, when I get bigger platforms, I'm gonna keep speaking up about it. And who knows? Hopefully by then we can make a real big change. But I mean, it's something that we've been fighting for years on years on years on years. So it's something that we really need to look forward, or look like we need to look ahead and really make a change. But I'm gonna be there every step of the way, showing my opinions and my point of views on it.
Absolutely, man. I'm definitely excited to got you next year, man, and keep doing your thing representing, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Of course, you're always welcome on, bro. God bless.
Yep.